Hi, thank you for joining us. This is In the Metal, and my name is Johnny McLaughlin, and I am joined here today. It's a bit of a special one. I actually had to think about how we actually approach this one, but this is a short In the Metal, and it is just a little tribute to a friend of ours who has passed away, a guy who was a visionary, a creative genius, a dynamic spark of energy in any room. And his name was Jean-Marie Schaller, and he was the visionary, the energy behind Louis Moinet. And we're going to take a little look at how Jean-Marie has affected the legacy that he has left on his very untimely passing at the age, I think, of 66. So without further ado, I would like to go across to Brooklyn to welcome my friend
We
Jay
can't hear
Kumar.
you. I can't hear you.
Oh, man. Okay. Can you hear me, Rob?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you
Okay.
hear us? I can't hear you.
Yep. Yep.
I can't hear you.
I don't know why.
We can't hear you.
Rob can. Rob can. Rob can. So, yeah. So, folks, apologies for the technical thing. We're a little problem here with Jay. Let me just see one moment. There, Jay can come back in. Rob, sorry, a little bit of a scrambled start there, enough to try anyone's nerves, and as if winging it and flying by the seat of your pants isn't hair raising enough. Whenever you've got tech issues, it adds to the fun, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, the joys of live television. Can't be
Sorry,
Yes.
I'm very sorry. I couldn't hear you guys, so I just had to go out and come back again.
That's fine. Can you hear us
Here
now?
it is.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. Folks, so we will start again because what we were doing is this is a special and it's a short one, and we're just going to wanted to take a few moments just to reflect on someone who we all had a huge amount of love for, and that is Jean-Marie Schaller, who was the CEO and creative director behind the brand, which we know as Louis Moinet. And what a real incredible character, larger than life, colourful, ebullient. He had the sort of personality who, whenever he was in a room, or whenever you're in a room where he was unmistakably there. His presence was permeated the whole room, not in a loud way or a vulgar way or a way look at me way. Just you knew Jean-Marie Schaller was there, and his untimely passing at the age of 66, I believe, or 67, still way too young. So, joined by Rob Nudds, who has a good friend of Jean-Marie, joined by Jay, who also had met him, and any one of us who met Jean-Marie, he just affected our lives. So, your thoughts, Rob?
Well, it's devastating, as you said at the top of the show. It's, I mean, not entirely unexpected. He was not so well for quite some time. He hung on as long as he could, almost long enough to see Arsenal win the Premier League, which I know was something he was desperate to see happen again, and looks like it might. So we keep our fingers crossed for them. He was a huge football fan and a great friend, very easy to connect with. You would think, being the CEO and leader of a brand as wild as and experimental as Louis Moinet, that he'd be disconnected from the common man, but that wasn't the case at all. He was a snappy dresser. His jackets often stole the attention in the room, but he was a quiet man, a humble man, a thinker, introspective character, philosopher. And I mean that in the truest sense of the word. You know, these buzzwords are tossed around in the watchmaking industry too much and don't often apply as keenly as they did to Jean-Marie. He was a good laugh, and ultimately, I guess what I'll remember above everything else is a great friend, someone that I shared a lot with, alongside a love of Tintin, which was one of the first things that we bonded over. In his house, in his lounge, like surrounding the television, there was a wall from floor to ceiling with small shelves and compartments filled with Tintin figurines, and he loved that spirit of adventure and the yearning intellect that Hergé's favorite character possessed. He had that himself.
That's an amazing connection. I too am a huge Tintin fan, and I still, it's wonderful to think, even as an adult, you can go back and you can look through those amazing adventures and the detail. I just love that lean Clar animation that Hergé made his signature, and it's lovely to know with that in common. Also, Arsenal, I know he was a huge Arsenal fan, and he would have been delighted to see Arteta damn nearly over the line at this stage within the English Premier League, and so he would have been delighted with that there. So we'll come back to Rob in a little second. Jay, your memories of Jean-Marie Schaller.
So I go back to Basel. I used to always frequent Basel World, and used to always see this particular person standing in one place, and he used to have a crowd of people around him. And as you were mentioning about his jackets, he used to have these Indian-inspired jackets, like the sherwanis and whatever. Like, I have never seen anything or anybody like him, how he could attract people. The attraction of people, and it doesn't matter who it was. I didn't even know who the person was. I was standing next to, I think it was Hamid Siddiqui, in front of Chopin, and Jean-Marie was passing by, and he saw Hamid, and he came towards him, and started talking to him, and he didn't even know who I was. He just looked at me and said, "You're looking very good," and I was like, "Thank you." He had this way of making people feel good.
Yeah.
Even if he had no clue who the hell the person was. And, slowly, Karishma Karer used to come to the restaurant, and, she used to talk about him. She used to talk about meeting him, and I used to see her talking to him. And it was always with not less than 5 to 10 people around him who he used to have a conversation together with, which I never understood what was going on, because normally you have this crowd and everybody talking to everyone else, but he was the center who actually dictated what was supposed to be said and what was going on. And nothing crazy, just the way, just kindness and respect. This is insane. I mean, and when I got this, I have a friend called John Cruz who lives in Geneva. He also is the one who does Indies New York, the
Yeah.
independent watch salon. He called me yesterday. He said, "Hey, did you hear that Jean-Marie passed away?" I said, "Shalom?" He said, "Yes." He's like, "Oh my God." And I was shocked and devastated, because I knew that there was something happening behind the scenes, but I didn't know what exactly it was. People are talking about it. But I also heard from so many people that they saw him for Watches and Wonders this year. And I was like, how can that, possibly happen in something like this? I just don't
He had
understand.
a day
I
trip.
get choked just thinking about the fact.
Yeah, his Kurt has stepped in as CEO, acting CEO, and doing a great job with Louis Moinet. Again, as I said, I want to keep this brief, and but if I ask Rob, what kind of legacy does Jean-Marie Schaller leave behind?
Well, it's big shoes to fill, that's for sure. It's an interesting question. We talk about a lot of eponymous brand owners, say Laurent Ferrier, Max Busser, Kari Voutilainen. Can the brands exist without them? Of course, Jean-Marie was the custodian of a legacy that existed before his, in that of Louis Moinet, one of the key architects in the development of the chronograph. And you would think that Louis Moinet's story itself would be enough to persist, but it's so hard to run a brand, to create market separation between you and competitors in the same price bracket these days. It's questionable as to whether any brand can survive without effective and visionary leadership, as you said before. And I think the brand will have to take some time to reevaluate how it wants to present itself, which parts of the collection it wants to push ahead with, and what makes sense without Jean-Marie at the helm. I know that he was surrounded by a great team that, looked upon him the same way we did, not just as a colleague or as a leader, but as a friend and an inspiration. And I think that those things will persist. And I know his son Nathaniel is very close to his dad, and was, kind of groomed a little bit towards the end, at least, to sort of step in at some point and be a guiding force, and to continue his father's legacy in that way. And his whole family is very close to the company and has always been there to support him right from the get-go. Because let's face it was a mad venture, exactly the kind of thing we came to expect of him, to try and haul this brand up by its bootstraps and get it to the level that it is today. I think that the wealth of good feeling towards him and the love for what he created will buoy the brand for the next few years while it reshapes itself in a new image.
Very good observations indeed. For people who are not familiar with the brand, I'm not going to do an exhaustive look through or a horological examination of the collections, but they're very much. I often say that a watch is an extension of the personality of the person behind that watch or that brand, and you could definitely see Jean-Marie's influence in from the way that he dressed, as we've all mentioned, his beautiful, colourful coats, and you just expected that from Jean-Marie. There was no. If you've seen someone wearing one of those beautiful, a purple coat or a pink coat or a blue coat, like I noticed, Rob, and one of the things I loved was the photographs of yourself and him.
So nice, so nice.
Sharing the, he let you get access to the wardrobe for the pleasure and honor of wearing one of his beautiful coats. But, you kind of expected that. It wasn't a surprise. If it was anybody else wearing something like that, you go, right, and maybe question it. But yourself, you just took it as that's the man. And so what I have done, I've collected a few images, and just to show the type of pieces that
Beautiful.
Louis Moinet, for people who are familiar with the name perhaps, but not overly familiar with the watches. This is a series called Around the World in 80 Days. It was a one-off collection of 8 unique pieces, and the colors, the materials, the technical sophistication with tourbillons and all the different styles that he used, the materials that he would have used in creating these dials. There were fragments from the moon or from Mars even, and I'm talking little fragments of meteorite, and all fused with this very, very powerful and strong and distinctive design language. And he was a wonderful character. I don't know. I hope I'm handling this okay, because it's difficult to talk about. We like talking about lighthearted things and about the watches that we like and so on and so forth. So it does feel kind of odd doing this one, but we've discussed this beforehand, guys, and agreed that it was worth passing a few words just to share our thoughts on a great man.
Oh wow!
I just found something on my shelf. Right, I have 2 copies of the same book. This one is addressed to Fratello and Friends, and is I don't know when that one was given to us, but this one is addressed to me and sent to me directly. I'd forgotten about this. I just opened it up, and on the page there with my name on it is a little cartoon of himself, which says, "Come on, Arsenal." And if I remember correctly, he sent this to me just as it looked like Arsenal were about to win the league a couple of years ago, and Yeah, I'll treasure that. I forgot about the cartoon, but just crossed my
Absolutely.
mind. But yeah,
Absolutely. So let me see. That's a beautiful memento, and it's lovely to have something to remember this wonderful
That is
man.
such an amazing thing to have right now. It sort of, completes the whole circle in a way, just trying to think about the relationship, the memories, and then, that that sad story of him passing, and then, we're talking about this and you putting out something which is such an incredible, gesture. It's so cool.
There are
yeah,
some aspects of the story that really are part of the reason for putting this together, because Louis Moinet was a brand that was defunct. It was dormant. It was got for well over 100 years.
Yeah.
And Jean-Marie had worked his way up through information gathered, by the way, from a wonderful interview that you did with him, Rob, a number of years back, and where I learned that he had worked with Omega, he had worked with Daniel Roth, and a number of other watch companies, and he had. Daniel Roth had said to him, because he was interested in doing his own thing and creating his own mark, and he was looking for a brand in the right at the turn of the century, actually in the year 2000, looking for something to get his teeth into. And Daniel Roth, I gather from your interview, was the one who said you should be looking at Louis Moinet. There's great history as one of the great inventors, not just a watchmaker, but inventors of horology, and how he took that project on board, I think, in 2004, and started building this brand, injecting his own amazing, colourful personality into it. And then there was a culmination kind of in 2021, because he was at an auction in Geneva, and a Louis Moinet piece came up. I've showed it briefly there a few moments ago, and but it was called the Compteur de Terces. And this piece, it was subsequently discovered to be
Wow.
predated any other known chronograph by 5 years. And Louis Moinet got the Guinness World Records to certify that this was the first ever chronograph, and also the first high frequency timepiece, because I think it run at 216,000 VPH. 216,000. That is not a mispronunciation. That is something that was so far ahead of its time. Nothing like it was ever created again for another at least 100 years. And
Wow.
fascinating. And so the legacy that Louis Moinet had have left, it's now gone through the man who revived that brand. And I'm just looking through today at some of the beautiful chronographs that still are key and central to the Louis Moinet brand and the portfolio. And you also worked with him on a project as well, Rob, back in the day, making a Memoris Spirit chronograph, if I were correct. Yeah.
yeah,
Were you involved in that process?
Thing. Was I what? Sorry.
Were you involved in that process?
Yeah, I designed it with him. Well, I mean, I did it on the basis of the platform that already existed. This was a a beautiful thing to bring to life. We had some ideas together of how we could change the usual layout, the usual colorways, try some different slight tweaks on components, and we put this together, and it was fondly received, I think, by the audience as a different take, and it was, a great joy to work so closely with him on it. It was a project that took, I guess, the best part of a year. We'd been friends for a while before that, several years, but this was like a real nice chapter in that friendship, because we were in constant communication, hanging out all over the place, all different locations in Switzerland and further afield as well, as we communicated this co-designed release. And yeah, unfortunately, I don't own one. He always intended on sending me one, but unfortunately, never got around to it. And one day, perhaps I'll find one on a pre-loved marketplace and pick it up for myself, because I would love to have that on my wrist. Not that I need it to remember him, but it was a nice thing to produce together. And it's always good to, have memories and emotions wrapped up in products that are out there and giving people pleasure on a daily basis when they look down at their wrists. So yeah, very grateful to have that opportunity to work with him.
For sure. Before we head towards the close here, which we will do in a few minutes, there was one image that I got today, and it touched me. And this is yourself and Jean-Marie and Rob. I know exactly how that man could just come out with the most hilarious one-liners and leave you dead on your feet, just in fits of laughter. And I saw that image today, and I said, I have been there. I know what that is like. And I had a great affinity with him, and I was just devastated. I'm sure, like yourself, Jay, devastated.
That's insane. That looks so cool. But just going back to that watch, what you just showed before this, what a great piece that is.
Oh.
I mean, you collaborating with something like this is such an amazing way. What it shows, what this is all about. I mean, look at that piece. I mean, it's. I would love to have one of those in my wrist if I find it anywhere. I mean, it's such a beautiful piece.
It's a Memoris. It's a single pusher, mono pusher chronograph with it's the and it has the central seconds on 30-minute counter, if I'm not mistaken. Is that it, Rob?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And stunning piece, absolutely. Again, whenever I was at any time I was ever in Geneva at any of the events, a meeting with Jean-Marie Schaller was always one of the highlights of your week. And there was that kind of informality that you could speak about football, and you could speak about the watches and what's going on in the world, and the other passions that he had for, everything from astronomy, space part. Like, we're all made of stardust, and he epitomized that whole understanding. But listen, I just wanted to, before I close off, anyone would like to say anything else just before we head for the door here?
Yeah, I would say, we look at a watch like that one that was just on the screen, and all the other ones that you've shown today already, and they can seem a little crazy, which maybe is a slight reflection of the man himself. But I think fundamentally, despite his desire to keep the legacy of Louis Moinet alive, because he had a huge amount of respect for the man, that was a genuine respect as well. It wasn't just some act that he put on for the press. It was really, really heartfelt. It went to his core. He loved the ingenuity of Louis Moinet. He loved the contributions he made to the development of the chronograph, and he really felt a responsibility to keep that man's story alive. But ultimately, the watches aren't so much watches or important as products. They're just a conduit for the relationships that he believed so strongly in, and the feelings that he brought to other people through those relationships. That Memoris life, that was one of the first pieces he ever let me take away from the workshop to wear for an extended piece of time. And I kind of got it. First time I held it in my hand, I was like, this is mad. I'm not sure this is really my style. I'm not sure I'd ever wear a Louis Moinet. But then there was so much to discover about the piece that revealed itself to me over time. It was like getting to know a complex person as he was, and as our friendship deepened over the years. And we talked about watchmaking less and less, and life and our passions outside of the industry more and more. I got why it was so important to him to be in a business like this and to work so tirelessly and give so selflessly as he did to the craft of watchmaking. And I'm going to miss him a lot.
We all are. Jay?
That's it, man. I mean, as I said, I was not very. Actually, when he said the name and when he said that, I said, no, it can't be. He said, yes, it is. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is not what the independent watchmaking needs right now, because he does hold each and every brand, onto their selves, and encourages and puts them into a certain level that they get more and more encouraged in doing what they do. And as I said, this is a very sad day. And, I've talked to at least 15 people who know Jean-Marie, and who have expressed the same thing to me about him. And it is, you know what? We just keep those good memories, and, keep him in a place where he deserves to be. And that's all I can say. This is how it is.
For sure. Guys, thank you so much indeed for joining us for this short but very heartfelt tribute. This is someone who touched all of our lives, who made us all feel better whenever we were in his company, and whose infectious personality oozed out of every pore and into everything that he touched. And by goodness, a light has gone out in Watch World, and it's but he would want us to remember him in a happy way and to celebrate that beautiful,
Yeah.
colourful personality that he had. And so, although gone much too soon, in time, we hopefully, when we've passed this stage of just feeling very emotional and raw about it, we get to celebrate an incredible life. And so with that, folks, I would like to thank you so much, both of you. Rob, first time on In the Metal, an absolute pleasure. We've been threatening to do this for a long time. It's not the circumstances that I would ever have dreamed of doing it, but I look forward to seeing you again. Jay, my friend, thank you again so much for being available at short notice.
Thank you.
And we will catch up. We'll be back to see you again all next week. And but for now, I would just like to leave.
I'll be in Paris, but I will hopefully I can hop on at that time.
Jay, as I said to Rob earlier, it's not the 6 o'clock news if we miss a day or we, I don't think the world's going to come to an end.
This is the reason we love you, because you know exactly what the situation is. This is such an amazing way to talk to people and to put the message out there without pressure, without nothing. Johnny, you're the man.
Guys, it could have been nothing without everybody who helps me and supports me, and I love doing it. And that's the reason that we're doing this here. But so I'm just going to leave with just an image of our friend Jean-Marie Schaller. Folks, thank you very much indeed, and we will come back and see you on the next episode. Maybe that might come from with Jay in Paris. Who knows? We'll find out soon. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.